Hi, welcome back to the Patience to Prosperity podcast. I'm Lizzie if you're new here. Okay, we're going to get right into it as we always do with this podcast. And to be honest, I think it's pretty clear if you're an avid listener of this podcast where I'm at lately. Like, I kind of feel like life is just a clusterfuck of emotions lately, and I'm being pulled in two different directions and not even knowing what those two directions are. And that's actually going to be the first thing that we're talking about here. So, the two directions that I feel like personally I'm being pulled in right now the most is one, desiring more, desiring something more expansive than what my current reality holds. And then two, finding gratitude in what is my current reality, finding gratitude for all of the things that I already have that maybe I'm just like not honing in on enough and I'm not appreciating enough. But that right there is what I want to first talk about is the idea that, I'm not appreciating things enough. Because I feel like for me personally, I think this goes back to conditioned beliefs from childhood and from growing up, with religion being the center of my beliefs and just basing my worth off of what religion was telling me to. And what I realize is that whenever I'm trying to find gratitude in something, because when you're actually feeling grateful about something, it's just this spur of emotions that kind of hits you in the moment where you're like, wow, this feels like something that I know I'm going to miss one day, right? But what I've noticed in myself most recently is that I'll start to find gratitude in things by first assessing what I'm not appreciating enough. And when I'm approaching gratitude through that lens, I feel like what I'm not realizing is that I'm actually operating from a lack mindset by approaching gratitude by first assessing what I'm not grateful enough for or what I'm not appreciating enough, instead of already looking at all of the things that I am grateful for in my current reality. You know, gratitude is something that I just feel like I've always had a very weird relationship with because truly, in my heart of hearts, I know that I am a very grateful person. I know that I'm always looking for gratitude in things, but I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, but if you're always looking for it, is that what makes you grateful? Or is what makes you a grateful person just having gratitude as like your default, where you don't even have to think about it? You're just always subconsciously taking gratitude for everything. It makes me question like the validity behind it and the intentionality behind it. Because, in order to be someone who's really grateful, do you have to intentionally find or make way for gratitude in your life? Like, do you have to intentionally sit down and ask yourself what you're grateful for every day? Or are you more grateful by just going about your day to day and bringing your awareness to something that sparks your interest, something that you find beauty in, something that, gave you a sense of peace? Maybe we don't always have to label it as gratitude. Maybe it's just our way of living, that we just start to find beauty in everything around us, and that is gratitude in its inherent self. So, what I'm getting at right here is that maybe gratitude doesn't actually have this hierarchy system that we think it does, that we're trying to subconsciously fit ourselves into, but we don't know where we fit. And we're trying to look at ourselves in gratitude as this thing that, like, we sometimes fall out of alignment with, when in reality, if you're someone who's actively practicing gratitude, sometimes it doesn't mean that you're consciously and intentionally sitting down with it. Because sometimes the gratitude that you're finding in things is a little bit unconscious. Like, you're not aware that what you're doing is finding gratitude in that thing. You just think that you're looking at it through a heightened awareness, or you're just looking at it through a positive lens. I don't know if any of that like really made sense, but if it resonated, it resonated. And that's what I'm here for. The people that get it, get it. And the ones that don't, skip forward 5 minutes because that's when I'll reach my flow state. Going back to what I was saying about being pulled in two different directions, though, when the first direction you're being pulled in is to desire something outside of your current reality, I think that it sparks this initial thought of, oh, but I must be ungrateful for everything I already have. But that's what makes this energy so conflicting, and that's what makes it pull you in two different directions, is that you are forgetting to realize that you can simultaneously believe that you deserve more than what your current reality holds, and also be grateful for everything that you already have. And what we get lost in is that first desire, where we are always desiring something outside of ourselves. And when we're so stuck in that field of desiring something that we're not currently living, it pulls us out of the present moment, right? And in order to find gratitude in your current reality, you need to also be meeting life with a level of presence, because you'll miss all of the little glimpses of things that you ultimately are going to end up feeling more gratitude towards when they are not in your life. And then you go through this cycle where you're always grieving something that you never fully got to say goodbye to. You're always grieving something that you feel like you didn't get the chance to find the utmost amount of gratitude for. You feel like you didn't appreciate it enough when you had it. It's one of those feelings. And that is one of the most paralyzing feelings ever, because it forces us to accept that things just are how they are and that we'll never get back what we once had. And it's one of the most beautiful things ever at the same time, because, grief just means that we loved something so much and that we care about something so much that we find a new emotion that we didn't even know we had, and we don't even know how to express or find understanding for. Like, we don't even know the lessons behind it sometimes, because we just cared so much about that thing. And when you're leveling up and you're becoming a new version of yourself that you've never met before, you're also simultaneously grieving past versions of yourself, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. And I think that's what makes this transitional period so fucking complicated, is that your old self is always trying to pull you back. And since that part of us is more familiar, we think that it's unsafe to reach this next level of awareness, of consciousness, of enlightenment as we evolve to the next chapter, as we evolve into the next person that we're meant to evolve into. And, when you get to this state of heightened awareness, it's a little bit easier to see that it's the past version of you talking to you. But sometimes when it comes up in terms of doing things that feel good to you, that's when the water gets a little bit murky. Because when you're transitioning into the person that you're fully working towards becoming right now, you're going to feel super burnt out at times. It's going to feel like a lot of pent up energy that you don't know what to do with, and a lot of unclear messages coming through. Like, you don't know the answer to things, but you know how you feel, and you know that it's pulling you towards something. You just don't know exactly what it is or when it's coming. And so people will just tell you, do what feels good to you now. Like, that's the priority of your life, is just to do what feels good to you. But sometimes what feels good to you is actually what feels good to a past version of you. So those things don't actually resonate with who you're becoming and who you are right now in this transitional period, because maybe the ways in which you coped with the heaviness of life to feel a little bit lighter, to feel a little bit more in your body and out of your mind, are actually things that are going to keep you stagnant now. They're actually things that are forcing you to put everything that matters on the back burner and sort of procrastinate the things that you're supposed to be actively working towards. And I don't want that to overwhelm you, because if you're resonating with what I'm saying right now, life probably already feels so fucking overwhelming. So take a deep breath right now, wherever you are. Like, genuinely, take a deep breath. I'll give you a second to do so. Where you're currently at is exactly where you're supposed to be. And I know that you might hear that all the time, and you might try to tell yourself that all the time. But what I need you to understand is that you don't always have to know why and when something is going to happen. You don't have to know. And it's so beautiful that you've gotten to this point in your life where you're always looking for the answers. You're always questioning things. You're always, looking for clarity in things so that you can fully understand it and grasp it before you move on to the next lesson. But life is not a fucking rat race. Society's going to try to make it seem like it's a rat race, and like the second that you don't clock what this lesson's trying to tell you, life already moves on to the next one, so you better fucking stay on your high horse and figure it the fuck out. But who is saying that? Like, where are these actual rules that you're abiding by right now? Like, I need you to actually become clear with the limitations that you're not seeing in your current reality right now. The things that you're telling yourself you have to do or can't do or should do. Like, all of those things are simply just limitations that are trying to keep you closed-minded, and they're trying to control your every move. You don't need to listen to those limitations. And sometimes they're created by yourself. Sometimes they're created by your external reality or society or your parents or religion, whatever it might be. Anything that's trying to tell you how to live your life a certain way, you should be looking at with a skeptical mindset. Because even if someone tells you to do something and you're immediately like, yeah, I should do that. That actually sounds really good. Why does it sound good? Is it because you're currently lacking something in your current reality that you think this thing would fill the void of? Like, you can always dig deeper beneath the surface, but I also want you to know that you don't always have to be digging. It's okay to be in limbo states of healing and of transformation. It's okay to be in a grace period and to actually give yourself permission to be in a grace period. I don't think that it's actually productive to always be yearning to heal more and to go deeper and deeper and deeper inside of yourself. Because sometimes there's actually more on the surface that you have just gone so far past because you're so concerned with digging deeper and deeper and deeper beneath that surface that you're missing out on everything that's right in front of your face. And then you eventually find what was on the surface all along, and it puts you in this place of feeling very incapable. And ultimately, by the time that you find what was already on the surface, you feel so burnt out from digging that hole to the utmost like depth of your subconscious that you don't even feel like you have the energy to unpack what's on the surface, and it makes you feel incapable to continue on. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I feel like all the lessons I'm being shown right now are things that seem so obvious to me, but I'm just going so far past them because I think that they have to be so much deeper than what they actually are. When in reality, sometimes the lesson is just, I need rest right now. I need to be taking a slower approach to life right now and get out of my masculine energy so much. Like, sometimes it's actually so much more simple than we make it out to be. And the simplicity behind it, once we realize how simple it is, makes us feel so incapable. But you are so far beyond capable to the point where you have taken extreme measures just to uncover the subconscious on the surface level of your life because that's who you are. Because that's how you've conditioned yourself to think about lessons in life right now. You're so dedicated to your own healing journey and your own evolution that you think that it's always going to feel taxing and it always has to be this feeling of a rat race every single time you're in a transitional period. But it doesn't have to feel that way. And when it does, it's forcing you to slow the fuck down so you're not missing what's on the surface level right in front of your eyes. I truly do think that when you're being pulled in two different directions and you don't know what to choose, choosing yourself is always the third option that you're not seeing. Choosing yourself is always going to be the productive choice. And sometimes choosing yourself means letting someone else down. Sometimes choosing yourself actually means doing that productive thing to get it off of your back so that you have room to sit in stillness and be with yourself and fully relax. Like, I gotta put me first sometimes means putting that laundry first, putting that assignment first, doing those things to get it off of your fucking mind so that you can just sit and be with yourself. I'm someone who is constantly looking for the lessons in things, like to the point where I'm not even trying to. It's just genuinely how my brain operates. And then you ultimately and inevitably get to this point where you're so burnt out from all of the lessons that you're learning or trying to acquire that you feel like you don't have the capacity to possibly learn another fucking lesson. And it creates a lot of fear, it creates a lot of doubt, it creates a lot of uncertainty in your life, which mitigates the amount of trust that you've been trying to build up for some time now. And that's why I've just been saying to you guys, like, maybe you don't always have to know the lessons behind things because you eventually get to this wall where you're like, okay, well, now I feel like I've learned all my fucking lessons, but there's something behind this wall that I'm not able to see. And since I've been actively pouring into all of these little mundane lessons in my reality, I feel like I don't have the fucking energy to break down this wall right now to try to figure out what's on the other side. And to that, I would just say that wall is going to come down no matter how the fuck you approach it. No matter if you take a sledgehammer to it, if you take a fucking pickaxe to it, or a chainsaw. Like, that wall is going to come down no matter what you take to it. So, what is the fucking rush? You actually learn so much more from letting those lessons unfold themselves and letting those lessons just fully bleed into your current reality, into all of the things that you're experiencing. Those lessons are going to play out in a way that you are not fully able to comprehend because that's what's not in our control. Like, that's what's up to God to decide. Like, sometimes those lessons are going to come through at different times in our life, even when we thought we already learned that lesson. And we're not supposed to necessarily always know why it's coming through again or what it's trying to show us right now. Before I let you go, I just want to remind you that gratitude can coexist with fear. Gratitude can coexist with uncertainty and with doubt. And you need to remind yourself that if you are even doubting how grateful you are for things, that in itself proves how much gratitude means to you and how much gratitude is at the center of your life because you're so concerned with how grateful you are in every single aspect of your life that thought in itself is what's holding you back from abundance because you are seeing yourself as this ungrateful being that has all this abundance in your life. And from coming clear with how much gratitude you're not seeing, you're actually looking at your life as something that is whole and abundant. So you don't have to be so concerned with taking gratitude in every little thing because it's already how you're operating. It's already who you are as a person, even in those really taxing, draining lessons that you've learned, or the ones that have just absolutely put you through the ringer to come to the ultimate lesson behind it. You're still finding gratitude in how you learned that lesson. even if it meant losing a part of yourself or losing a person in your life because of it. You know that it happened for a reason. And that in itself just proves who you are as a person. So give yourself more credit. Give yourself more credit because you're being so hard on yourself. And when you are doubting your own capabilities, it makes it so much harder for more abundance to find you in your current reality because you're putting yourself in the energy of not seeing your worth through. And if you're not seeing your worth through, how do you expect yourself to be rewarded from it? You know, everything that you get as a result of who you are, if you're not seeing who you fully are, you're going to feel like you don't deserve. And you were not put here to feel like you don't deserve things. You were not put here to shrink yourself. You were not put here to feel unfulfilled by life, period. So take that as you will. And of course, as always, if you guys have anything to add to this conversation, feel free to DM me. Feel free to comment on this podcast because that's a new feature now with Spotify. Feel free to leave a rating or a review on the podcast so that I know how you guys are digging it and what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of, what you resonated with, what you needed to hear, whatever it might be. I really want to hear from you guys and I really value all of your comments. And so if you're feeling so inclined to do so, I encourage you to reach out in any way that feels good to you. And that's all I got for you guys. Thank you again for your full, undivided attention. Thank you for listening to this podcast and being a part of this conversation and just being who you are, because that in itself is just such a beautiful thing. Until next time, as always, come as you are and leave a little more healed. Mwah! Yay!